What is going on, everybody? Look at the lineup we have tonight. Super excited about this show, and not just because it's about the Miami Dolphins, but because we have spectacular guests this evening. With me, as always, is my twin brother from another brother, Nino. Nino, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm just ready to dive in.
Yes, yeah. As long as my internet stays up, I'm ready to dive in too.
Looking good now.
I don't know about the looking good part, but I'm here. Joining me also from DolphinsTalk.com, Mike. Mike, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
I'm doing great, George. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic. And also with us is Troy King. Troy, how are you doing this evening, my friend? Long time no see.
Yeah, man. Look, I just saw you over the weekend. We got to hang out, man. Look, I appreciate you inviting me on. I'm really excited for this show, just to chop it up about everything Dolphins.
Listen, you guys were chopping it up already when I had internet issues. I was spying on y'all.
To talk about.
Dude, we have so much to talk about. So let's just jump right into this. Mike, I'm going to start with you. 2021 season was a very up and down season for both Miami Dolphins and the Miami Dolphins fan. What's your assessment of how the 2021 Dolphins, their season, what's your assessment on that?
That season, I know they made a run late, and it made it interesting and fun. But when they're 1-7, that season was over. I never really thought, even at 1-7, as they won each week, that they were realistically would make the playoffs. So they came close, and they almost proved me wrong. But I knew one of those weeks they were going to sort of slip up, and they did. And it's just a frustrating season because I didn't think it had to be that way. I think the head coach he wasn't in over his head, but he's very much his way or the highway type of guy. And he had no flexibility with the players, no flexibility with the staff that he hired, and he wanted to do it one way, and he wasn't going to change, even if it wasn't working for anybody. And then you look on the field, and you look at some of the personnel moves that came from the general manager and probably the head coach as well. They probably worked in tandem. You know, they invested, or they counted on too much youth with the offensive line, and it blew up in their face. And then everything with who's calling plays, it's like a state secret. We can't tell you. It could be this guy. It could be that guy. Maybe it's this guy we're not even telling you about. And you can ask us 100 times. We're not going to tell you. Like, it's not even that important. And they're just making things worse. And it was just a disaster from a lack of leadership from the top. And yeah, some of it falls on the players. Some of the players didn't play as good as they needed to, clearly. But it really starts from the top. And when you have that chaotic atmosphere, no team will be successful. They can make it interesting, win a few games, sure, but they're not going to be overall successful. And that's why it was frustrating to watch, because that team, it missed the playoffs by a game. And if they didn't have that chaos, especially at the start of the season, who knows? Maybe they sneak in. I don't think they would have gone far, but heck, just making it at this point, I'll take it.
Yeah, as a Dolphins fan, just get us to the playoffs. That's all we care about. We've won 19 games in 2 seasons. And neither one of those seasons did we make the playoffs. It's just get us to the game. We'll see what happens from there. Troy, your assessment on the 2021 season. What do you think?
Sure. I'll say about not just making the playoffs, winning a playoff game. We haven't won a playoff game in God knows how long, right? So
2000.
2000, yep. Exactly. So
22 years. Shut up, Nino.
So last season, I mean, everything Mike said, I agree with. Obviously, the injuries to Tua, and we're having to deal with Jacoby Brissett as the quarterback. That was painful. Look, we had a horrible run game. We just couldn't run the ball. Myles Gaskin, he'd be good one week, bad another week, good one week. It was just this inconsistency all around. Offensive line was obviously horrible. I think that's a great way to explain the Dolphins, right? Just inconsistent, and like I said, it definitely was a lack of leadership. The defensive side of the ball kept us in games when we shouldn't have even been in some of those games, because offensively we were just absolutely pedestrian. But the way that run was incredible. Like, the fact that we even went on a run, was it against some sucky teams? Absolutely. But you know what? You have to play the people on your schedule. I just think that run was, made it interesting. I was just completely done with the Dolphins. And then I was like, oh, let me start paying attention, maybe give me a little bit of hope. And then we barely missed the, playoffs. So it was frustrating, but it gave me a little tiny bit of hope. But I was optimistic, but we'll see how this season goes.
So I want to get your opinion, and this is the only time I am going to bring this gentleman's name up. How much of the Deshaun Watson trade rumors last year? I'll throw this one to Troy to start. How much of the Deshaun Watson trade rumors? How much do you think that actually affected the team and the play on the field, or do you think that they didn't have much effect at all?
I feel like play on the field, maybe not directly, but I feel like the whole entire team and organization was just chaotic itself. So maybe it was kind of like an after effect because of all that, just that drama. I don't know if the direct play on the field, you still have to practice, you still do what you need to do to prepare for the games. So as professionals, I'm hoping that, like Tua is not thinking about Deshaun Watson in the back of his head during those games. I don't believe that's the case, but it's just overall, again, it's made the organization was just chaotic. So I would say directly on the field, maybe not so much, but as a season whole, it clearly was a big storyline and they had to talk about it all the time. So it affected, I think, the team organization in that manner.
And Mike, what about you? How much do you think the Deshaun Watson talk affected?
It probably affected it a lot, but here's the thing, and I was saying this on our podcast all last season.
You were.
Even if you wanted him, even if they wanted Watson, lie. End the conversation. Stand up in front of a podium, week 1, week 2, week 3, say, we don't want him. If you want to tell Houston, look, we have to say this so it's not being asked of us every show. We still want, just lie at a press conference. No one's going to know. No one's going to care. And at least you're not asked about it 3 times a day, every day for like 6 months on end. Just openly lie. There's no rules for lying. And if they would have done that, it would have stopped the chatter. Even if it was going on behind the scenes and nobody knew about it, it would have stopped it publicly. And when it comes to Tua, if that did affect him negatively, which who knows if it did, we don't know. If it did, then we probably got the wrong guy. So if in the end, if it did affect him, we got the wrong guy. The one thing now with Watson and Cleveland and Mayfield, I give Mayfield a lot of credit because when they traded for Watson, I kind of like a guy who's going to go, you don't want me? Screw you, trade me. I don't want to be here. Because you know what?
Yes.
Why should you hang around for this Watson thing to play out? And, well, if he's suspended, maybe we'll keep you. If not, screw you. You don't want me? Get rid of me. I like a guy who's going to say that publicly. I like a guy who's going to have enough self-confidence in himself to stand up for himself. Now, I'm not saying Tua should have said that because that's because they didn't actually trade for Watson, so you can't really say that. But I don't know how it affected him. But if it was negatively, then he's the wrong guy. Not just for Miami, just for a job in the NFL in that role. But as an organization, guys, just get up there and squash the chatter. Clearly, they didn't want it squashed, though. And I think that comes from a head coach who probably thought he's doing some Jedi mind trick to motivate a guy, but it clearly wasn't working. And he should have just squashed that chatter easily, and they never did.
Yeah. So we're going to move off. That's, like I said, that's the only time I'll bring up the Watson name in the podcast, because as Dolphins, we've moved on from that. That's no longer anything that we need to focus on or worry about at this point. Yeah, Jared is Jared's a huge Baker Mayfield guy. He says, talking about Mike, I like this guy, Baker season. So I do have a question regarding the old coach, though. So in the offseason, we got rid of Flores and we brought in McDaniel. And now we got the controversy around the team where Flores is actually suing not just the NFL, but Miami Dolphins as well. Do we expect that to be any type of a distraction going into the season?
No, I don't think it'll be a distraction going into the season. I think whenever, and it could be any time, it could be tomorrow or it could be like in October or whenever, a punishment's handed out. And there will be a punishment. Now, it might be a slap on the wrist, but there's going to be a punishment. There is no way the Miami Dolphins are getting off scot-free with this. I don't know what happened, but something clearly happened. This guy's got memos from 2019 he saved. He's got witnesses from a boat where someone else was on the boat with him to, confirm his story. Do I think Stephen Ross was serious when he said lose games on purpose? I'll throw you a few bucks. No, probably tongue-in-cheek, probably joking. But tongue-in-cheek and joking can be taken out of context. And this guy's got receipts, real receipts, timestamp memos. So there's going to be a punishment. I don't think they're going to lose picks in round 1 or anything. Could they lose a pick in round 3 or a pick in round 2? Yeah, I think something like that's probably going to happen. But it won't be a distraction on the field because It doesn't affect the current players. Fans worry about picks in the draft more than, your starting linebacker does. He don't care. So it's like it won't affect the team per se, but it's going to make headlines for a week, and whatever the punishment is, it is. But I don't think they're getting off scot-free, though. I think something coming.
So something that came out today, and it's still off season, but we went ahead and hired Mike McDaniel as the coach. And then there's a drop today that the Miami Dolphins is one of the teams Sean Payton would be interested in coming back to coach for. Troy, I'm gonna throw this one to you because what do you think on that?
I just think that, to me, it's only going to be relevant if Mike McDaniels is horrible, right? If he comes out and the Dolphins are competitive, make the playoffs, and it's just chatter, right? It's just like with the Cowboys, like he was rumored to the Cowboys, right? So it's just like because he was a good coach. Sean Payton's a good coach. He's going to be rumored all these places. So to me, it's a non-story unless Mike McDaniel struggles. And I feel like if he does struggle, then we're going to hear Sean Payton's name a lot more throughout the season. But as of right now, it's just noise in the wind.
Mike, is it just noise?
It's noise, but it's true noise. Sean Payton they fired Brian Flores with the thought we're hiring Sean Payton. And I know everyone can play the game of semantics. Well, they reached out to the Saints and the Saints refused. Yeah, they already Sean Payton at a golf tournament in March when he spoke to the press, let the cat out of the bag that there were intermediaries talking between him and so was there a formal request made? Sure. But, agents talk off the record. People talk off the record. They were planning on getting Sean Payton and Tom Brady. The Flores lawsuit scared everyone away, and it didn't happen. Now, if the Dolphins, win 8-9 games or they don't miss the play, even if they win 10 and miss the playoffs or whatever, they're going to, take a look in the mirror and be like, look, this guy is a Hall of Fame coach. We wanted him last year. We have a chance now to get him. Hello. You have an owner who ain't getting any younger. He wants to win in the worst way. He was like, this is the guy I really wanted last year. And they're going to make a move. Now, look, winning cures all. They win, not going to happen. But this is the Miami Dolphins. They haven't won a playoff game since 2000. They haven't made the playoffs since 2016. If any fan, and I'm as big take a look around me. I'm as big a fan as anybody. If they can sit there confident and say, Miami's going to have a great year in 2022 and we're not going to need a head coach, you're lying to yourself. This owner wants to win badly. And if he gets a chance to get a Sean Payton, probably a Hall of Fame coach, and who Sean Payton's going to bring in great assistants and can maybe even bring in Tom Brady, who, FYI, the next owner of the Dolphins, who is just waiting for the team to go for sale, it's already been decided, is best friends with Tom Brady. They're going to bring them both in. It's just not if, it will happen should Tua not play well, should Mike McDaniel and the team not win enough. That's a heck of a safety net to have in your back pocket. So it will happen if they're bad.
They offer them TV money. They offered them TV money. They offer 5 years, 100 million.
5 years. It's a lot.
So, they wanted
and
him
he wanted
now.
to go. He called assistant coaches and was lining them up. And when the lawsuit hit, it blew everything up. He was ready to go. I know a lot of fans of Dolphins like to say, all the reporters are making stuff up. Trust me, they're not. They know. They're as locked in as everybody. They're not going to risk their job making up a story about the Dolphins. They just don't. He was calling up assistants, lining things up. He was ready to go. And I guess they were going to part with a first-round pick for Sean Payton and a couple second-round picks for Tom Brady, because Tom Brady was just going to go to the owners of Tampa and just be like, look, I won the Super Bowl. You got to let me do what I want to do type of deal, and they were going to make it work. But we'll see what happens next year. It's a long ways away, but I think that is their safety net, knowing they can make that happen very easily.
There was noise at the same time with Brady and Payton. The noise was Brady was making his own noise, so it was coincide.
He knew what he was
about to happen.
Brady knew what he was going to do. He knew what he was doing.
Oh yeah,
the whole time. I'm going to retire, and not really retire. He was waiting for the dust to settle.
Exactly.
And he's going to make a triumphant return.
Exactly. I agree 100%.
Well, they said they had Brady on the boat.
Yeah. And Flores was like, yo, I'm not going.
Yeah, I'll never get that. I mean, You're a first-time head coach. You get a chance to get Tom Brady. You say no.
This has been the stuff that didn't happen. That just actual head coach of the Miami Dolphins.
Wrong guy.
Let's talk about the actual coach of the Dolphins, Mike McDaniel. So he comes in from the San Francisco 49ers. He was the offensive coordinator, their run game coordinator the year previous. Everybody calls him a run game guru. Troy, I'm going to throw it to you to start. What are your expectations for the kind of offense Miami is expected to run in Miami?
I mean, you already hinted at it. He already talked about it all offseason. They're going to run the ball. And that's something the Dolphins have been struggling with for years. We just haven't, for some reason, been able to run the ball. Really since, like, Lamar Miller, right? We sucked. A lot of it has to do with the offensive line. I think it's a combination of our running backs and offensive line. And I know that, 2 years ago, Gaskin was pretty decent. He showed some flashes of being a good runner, but just consistently being able to run the ball, the Dolphins haven't been, good at that. So I believe that he's going to design the offense through the run game. And obviously we got Tyree Kell and Waddle. So if we can establish the run, then defense is going to have fits, right? So we can establish the run and then play action off of that. I think that's going to be a huge, and also it's going to be that. But again, you have your weapons with Gesicki, Tyree Kell, Jay Waddle, even Cedric Wilson. He's a competent wide receiver as well. I just feel that everything's going to be done through the run. And so if we can establish that, then again, we're going to give defensive fits all season.
So Mike, I'm going to throw it over to you, but I'm also going to ask the question is, do you think the Miami Dolphins will finally get a 1,000-yard rusher this season?
I'm not sure if they're going to have 1,000-yard rushers because they have so many running backs. They're going to sort of split time. But I think they're going to be a very good running team because this head coach he is committed to the running game. And with Sony Michelle, with Chase Edmonds, and with Raheem Mostert, they're going to run the ball. So I don't know if any one guy is really going to stand out and have a 1,000-yard rush. I mean, there might be one. And if there is one, I probably think it'd be Chase Edmonds just because I think he's probably going to be the most reliable guy that probably gets the most work week to week. So I don't know if they'll have a 1,000-yard rusher, but they're going to be committed to the run because with this quarterback, he's not a guy who can drop back 35 times a game or more and win games with his arm. You have to put him in situations where he has a running game to lean on, and he is not someone who you need to carry the team to win with his arm. Because I don't know if he'll ever be that guy. But there's a lot of guys who aren't that guy and who have won Super Bowls and won a lot of games because you put them in the right situation with the right coaching and just let them make the passes they need to make, but lean on that running game more than most. It's a league, obviously, where passing game is so dominant. Everyone wants to throw it down the field, get quick scores. And, yes, you need some of that. That's why you get a Hill. That's why you get a Waddle. You need some of that, but you don't want that to be your bread and butter with this quarterback. I think run the ball successfully, put him in third and short, let him make the big plays here and there when he needs to, but don't expect him to throw you 2 wins and throw 35 times a game or more because that's not his strength.
So how much do you guys think the speed on offense is going to help Miami this year? Because we got Tyree Kell, who everybody knows probably the fastest player in the NFL. You got Raheem Mostert coming out the backfield. Again, one of the fastest running backs in the NFL. You got Jalen Waddle. Mike Gesicki is no slouch as far as speed goes as well. So you've got speed, all over the field. How much will that help not just the offense, but help Tua, help the running game, and help everything?
Should help a lot.
Yeah. Mike, you can take it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things to where speed creates mismatches, and that's where you're going to get your chunk plays. That's where you're going to get your big yardage plays. Tyree Kell, he's a Hall of Fame wide receiver. He really is. Now, granted, he had Pat Mahomes and all that stuff. It's not like Pat Mahomes was throwing, 55-yard bombs every play. Sometimes he throw a 5-6-yard pass. That guy just make one guy miss and score. Tyree Kell is a Hall of Fame wide receiver who's going to change the entire Miami Dolphins offense just by walking on the field and having multiple people worry about him, which is going to leave open guys like Waddle, Mike Gesicki. Cedric Wilson from the Cowboys is a big-time signing. He's a guy who should have favorable matchups. Every time he steps on the field, he should have a favorable matchup. So the weapons are there for just this offense with all the speed to get big plays because they just, for many years, and it's not all on Tua. Everyone loves to blame Tua. This goes pre-Tua. they've just been a slow plodding offense where it needs that perfect 12-play drive to score a touchdown, which doesn't win anymore. Yes, it's nice to have that every now and then, but you need to be able – we saw it last year in the playoffs with the Chiefs and the Bills, just back and forth. You saw it in the playoffs with the Rams and Tampa Bay in the second half of that game. They're just going back and forth. 1-2 play drives, just boom, 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 boom. Now, that's unrealistic for every team. I get that, but you need some of that. And now they got the speed, and now they have the players to make that happen and at least be in the fight. At least look like a competent offense in 2022, which they haven't had a competent offense. They haven't had a top. I was on a podcast last night on our show with OJ McDuffie and Seth Levitt, who have their podcast for the Miami Dolphins Network. The last time they had a top 10 offense, OJ was on the team. That was 1995.
Wow.
That's a long. Now look, I love OJ. I'm not saying he's old. That's a long time ago. Okay, that's the last time they had a top 10 NFL offense. It's 2022. We're talking like 1995. So they have the talent to at least have a top 10 offense. Now, if it's ranked 12th, who cares? But just be in the mix at least and look like a real NFL team on offense. And it's there. Speed helps. It's now he's got to put it all together.
I had a question I want to touch on with the running backs, like between Edmonds and Mostert and even Sony Michelle. Obviously, Gaskin's still there. Who takes the lead role? Like beginning of the season, do you think Edmonds is the guy that comes out the box as the RB1?
I think Edmonds, just because Mostert has that knee injury he's coming off, and I think he's the guy they're going to have to limit because if you give him too much work, he gets hurt often. And if you give him too much work, he'll probably get hurt. So I think they're going to have to limit his touches. Sony Michelle's pretty much there. I don't want to say only as a pass blocker, but Sony Michelle's a heck of a pass blocker. And when your offensive line's shaky, even with signings that they've made, still shaky, you need a guy who's going to be out there who can pick up the blitz and keep your quarterback upright. So I think Sony Michelle, short yardage pass blocker. I think Chase Edmonds is going to be your old reliable, who's going to get probably the most touches each week and be on the field the most. So I'd go Edmonds.
Yeah, I'd go Edmonds too.
I think
Gaskin can be on the team all year?
I don't think he's going to make the team because they signed a fullback, which they haven't had a fullback. Most teams don't, so it's not. So they're going to probably carry those 3 running backs, a fullback, and they got about 4 tight ends and a few they use as H-backs. I don't see how Myles Gaskin makes this team. Myles Gaskin's a nice player. He really is. But he's not a number 1 or number 2 running back in this league. The fact he has been the past couple of years lets you know the state of this offense. The fact that now he's their number 4 and you're throwing a fullback in the mix, he's not really needed unless a bunch of guys get hurt.
I mean, special teams. I mean, that's his only shot, I feel like. Is
Doak still there? Is Doak still on the team?
There. He's probably a practice squad guy still.
Salvin Ahmed is still there too.
Salvin Ahmed's still there. And he actually has ties with the staff from San Francisco. So I think actually Salvin Ahmed, if they do carry a 4th running back, which I really don't think they will, but if they do, Salvin Ahmed might have an edge because he was in San Francisco with a lot of these guys. So he got that there. He kind of knows that offense they run. They're going to carry more wide receivers than they have in years past. They've always carried a lot of tight ends. And I think with the 3 running backs they signed, I don't know that they're going to carry a lot of running backs because a fullback also will take up a spot there, which a lot of teams don't have fullbacks. So I don't know if they need 4 running backs per se.
So I want to touch a little bit on the defense here. How important was it last year for Miami to keep Josh Boyer on the defensive side of the ball going into this year to have some type of consistency instead of doing a whole remodel and a whole remake on both sides of the ball?
I mean, I think it was huge. It was kind of weird. We were talking, before the show, how McNeil, he didn't get to pick his guy. He kind of just, they would say, hey, Boyer, you're going to keep Boyer, which I'm happy with, right? The defense was one of the few things that we could rely on week to week. So I'm happy that Boyer, he's going to be the defensive coordinator. And I'm happy with, them re-signing some key defensive players. So I'm excited. I feel like that's the one thing I don't have to worry about as much defense. We just need to see how the offense performs because that's obviously the thing that we all want to see. How is this offense going to work? Because the defense should be doing their job because, again, we have the core guys still. So I'm not really worried about that side of the ball.
Who steps up at linebacker for you guys? Is it Roberts? Is he going to be he's the dog?
I mean, we signed him. I think so.
He's the leader.
Yeah.
He's the veteran sort of leadership and the heart on that side of the ball.
I like Baker.
Baker, I like, and how they used him towards the end of the year more on the edge is how they need to use him for the full year. Put him on the edge, let him get after the quarterback some. He's not a true inside linebacker. Roberts is a true inside linebacker, but he can't play on passing downs. That's where he gets exposed. But Roberts is the heart and soul of that side of the ball, which is why they kept him. Linebacker is interesting. Now, the kid they took in round 3 out of Georgia, Channing Tyndale, is going to be interesting to watch. He's not a polished linebacker right now, but he has amazing speed. And I think this staff is going to be smart enough to use him in the right spots to sort of create a little bit of havoc. Put him on the field with just like, don't let him think too much. Be like, you're here. Your job is just to watch that guy. You're here. Blitz the quarterback. Don't worry about all this other stuff. And I think because he is such a freak athlete, and they were lucky he fell in their lap in round 3, at the end of round 3. I think he's someone to keep an eye on. And also, Jalen Phillips, who they have listed as an outside linebacker. He's really an edge rusher. But he had 8.5 sacks last year. And if not for the linebacker for the Cowboys, Micah Parsons, he would have been the talk of the NFL with 8.5 sacks as a rookie. I think he is in store for a big season. I mean big, because I think we only saw him sort of scratch the surface last year. And I think this year, with a year in a weight room, same staff around him, and just letting him let loose a bit more, I think he could have a big year for Miami.
So you, right?
What's that?
He was from Miami, the U? Yeah.
He went to University of Miami, picked 18th overall. Picked 18th overall in round 1. Big-time player. I think he's a big-time player.
I thought he went to Georgia. I thought he was one of the Georgia.
Jalen Phillips is you.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking Tyndale.
No. He went to Georgia.
Yeah. Okay, that's my mistake.
Speed, George. Come on, it's your team.
Hey, I'm trying to keep up with my internet. Never mind the speed. We talked a little bit about some of the guys they've brought in. We talked about Tyreek. We talked about the running backs. We haven't really hit on what, in my opinion, is one of the biggest free agent signings of the offseason, and that was the left tackle, bringing in Teasted. Troy, I'm going to throw it to you. How big of a signing do you think it was for us to bring in not just Teasted, but also Connor Williams as well, who I don't know if he's going to play center. I don't know if he's going to play guard. He's been a guard his whole life. They got him practicing at center. But what's your opinion on the signings of the Dolphins this offseason as far as free agents go?
Crucial. I feel it was absolutely crucial. It was the number one priority, really. The number one priority was to fix it. Just like Mike was saying, like earlier, we had too much youth on our offensive line. And we bring in these guys because we were the worst pass blocking unit last year. So it's like there was absolutely no way we could not have addressed it, right? And then and I'm glad that they made these free agent signings instead of just relying on the draft or whatever like they did the year before. This is crucial, and we need to keep Tua upright. We need to keep him healthy in order for us to have any shot at making the playoffs. So I absolutely love the signings, especially Teron Armstead. Again, he's one of the best rated offensive linemen. So yeah, I couldn't be more ecstatic about it.
And Mike, what do you think about the signing of Teasted and
Armstead? Armstead's a huge
Connor
signing.
Williams.
Armstead's a big time signing. Now he's got to stay on the field. The past few years he's missed a lot of games, but he's got to stay on the field. But when he's on the field, he's as good as it comes. Connor Williams is interesting. I like the signing for left guard. I'm not sure I like him at center. We'll find out soon enough, because if he goes to center and he isn't good, we're essentially rolling out the same group as last year with one new guy. Because if he struggles at center, it might be a long year for this offensive line again, because I know everyone's saying it's a new scheme, it's an offensive line friendly scheme, and I get that. But what I saw last year from Austin Jackson, what I saw last year a little bit from Liam Eichenberg, what I saw last year from a few of these guys is, I don't care what scheme they're in, they can't play. And I don't know, I think some of it is coaching. Yeah, absolutely. It sure is. But I don't know if you can make chicken salad out of chicken you-know-what. And I think, especially with Austin Jackson, I've seen 2 years of Austin Jackson, a guy who just can't play.
Yeah.
Liam Eichenberg, I got a little more hope in because they moved him around a lot. And as a rookie, he was never settled in one spot, really. So I think if they put him at left guard, it seems like, and just leave him alone, I think he'll be fine. So I have a little faith in Liam Eichenberg. Everyone likes Robert Hunt, and he's a good player.
Like
but I think, yeah, everyone likes Hunt. Here's the thing with Hunt. I always say Hunt's good compared to the guys around him. It's like being Mo from the Three Stooges. You're the smartest one, but what's it really saying? You're still an idiot. You know what I mean? It's like you're the best of a bad bunch. So I think Hunt's good. I just don't know how good he is. But yeah, Hunt at right guard's fine. If they go Liam at left guard, it's fine. I think Armstead's fine. Right tackle, I have no idea about Austin. I just don't see it with him. I hope I'm wrong. At center, we'll see. They're going to move a guy who played left tackle in college, left guard in the NFL, and now he's like a 5-year veteran, 6-year veteran. Let's just throw him at center. I don't know if that moves as easy as everyone thinks. We're going to find out. But if it doesn't work out, we're back to square one with the same group as last year, essentially.
At least we don't have Jesse Davis anymore.
Yeah, I know. I say this all the time. Armstead can't block everybody. If I'm an opponent and I look at that line, I'm going to go, Armstead's really good. Well, I'm not going to worry about him. Let's just blitz to the other side of the line.
Yeah,
and that's what opponents are going to do. Armstead can't block 5 guys. It's just one man. So he can, yes, he will improve the line just by being on the field. I get that. But these other guys got to make plays, and they got to step up. And what we saw last year, you can tell me coaching, scheme. Matt Applebaum could be the next Vince Lombardi for all I care. If a guy can't block, Matt Applebaum can't go out there and block for him. And that's where the big question is going to be.
Well, I think also with our thankfully with our receivers, right? I think Tua's going to get the ball out of his hands quickly. Again, just get it to your guys. Exactly. He almost has no choice, right? Get it to Tyreek, Waddle, let them do their thing, right? We're going to rely on Yak a lot. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I wanted that. Oh, go ahead, George. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Jared, chime in real quick. Phillips is a stud, but you got to give Christian Wilkinson some love. And I think I can speak for everybody on here. We absolutely love Christian Wilkinson.
Yeah,
that's a guy that they absolutely need to re-sign.
He's in a contract year. He'll be motivated.
Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead, Nino.
I want to just touch a little bit on the tight ends and with Gesicki, and I'm not hating, but he can't block much. So are they going to use him out of the slot more and have Hunter be the tight end as the blocker?
Calling him a tight end is the biggest lie.
I think he's a big receiver.
I think he only lined up with his hand in the dirt like twice last year. It was some crazy stat. He is a slot wide receiver. Now, he's not the fastest one in the world. And in this league, you don't need tight ends to block anymore. That's a myth. You really don't. Yeah. Look at how the game's played. Travis Kelce can block. Who cares, though? You want Travis Kelce to run down the field, catch the ball. Same thing with George Kittle. Yeah, sure, they can block. Who cares, though? Nobody's paying attention to his blocking grade. Same thing with Gesicki. Yeah, he's a bad blocker, but that's not why he's there. Now, it's interesting because they franchise tagged him, and they have to 4 p.m. tomorrow, Friday, to sign him to a long-term deal. If they don't, per rule, because they tagged him, they can't talk contract with him in season. Now, they can, of course, sign him to a long-term deal after the season, but nothing's going to happen in season. And from all the reports, they're not even talking to him. No. So he's not going to sign a long-term deal by Friday. But in this offense, with all these weapons, he should be running down the field with, once again, favorable matchups. Hill's going to take a couple guys. Waddle's probably going to take a couple guys. These other guys are going to be running wide open. He should have favorable matchups and have a good year. But if he's I don't think anybody cares if he can block anybody. He can block people on Twitter. I've seen him block people. He can block people on Twitter. I've seen that. But I don't know if he can block anybody in real life.
Hey, that's why we signed Durham Smythe. Durham Smythe is going to block.
Well, that's also why we drafted Hunter Long last year. I think Hunter Long is more of a prototypical tight end for the offense that McDaniel wants to run because he can block, he can run and catch the ball. I mean, he didn't make it on the field very much last year, but we had 27 tight ends in front of him, and he was a rookie. So
Adam Shaheen's a nice player too.
Yep.
Adam Shaheen's a nice player. They got tight ends at the yin yang. They are really deep there.
Yeah. Tight end is one of the other than wide receiver. I think tight end is probably the deepest position we have on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
So let's we talked about the free agency. We're gonna have to bring up Tua because we talked a little bit about him, but let's face it, like Tua is the straw that stirs this drink. If he does not perform well this year, it's probably his last year in Miami. They've got 2 first-round draft picks next year. I think we've got like 4 picks in the top 100, so we can definitely move up in the draft if we want. We could trade for another quarterback if we want. How much pressure, and I'm going to throw this to Troy to start, how much pressure is Tua really under for this season?
Astronomical. Astronomical. He knows that if he sucks, it's over. Like I think Tua, he's gotten that message, right? And he just needs to be good. He needs to be good, and even if he gets injured, right? You can't use that excuse. He has to stay healthy and he has to be good, period. Or they're going to move on. Just like you said, they have 2 first-round picks. The next year's class of quarterback loaded. The Dolphins are absolutely going to move on from him. They want to win. And Tua, like, we've seen enough. Like, we can't, like, the hip thing, like, obviously, like, coming out, we gave Tua a lot of passes, right? This year, he's set up for success, right? You bring in Tyree Kell, you have Jalen Waddle, you have Gesicki, you have this offense that should be friendly to him, right? It's going to be designed where it's going to be running the ball, get the ball out of his hands quick, let your receivers do their thing. He should be successful there. I don't see any reason why he didn't be successful unless the offensive line's absolute garbage again. But still, Tua's going to have to figure a way to be great. He has to be great or it's over for him.
Mike, Tua, pressure, go.
I mean, he has a ton of pressure on him. And I think, and it's unintentional, but this Tyree Kell podcast he's doing, I think he's even putting more pressure on him. And I think Tyreek's heart's really in the right place. He's trying to talk up his guy. He's trying to give him some confidence, public support. I think his heart's in the right place. I do. But what I don't think Tyreek understands is people are going to take quotes, parse them, take stuff, make it a headline. And it's actually putting more pressure on the kid, which he probably doesn't need. But at the end of the day, even the most diehard Tua supporters, I think, would even be willing to say at this point, I don't want to hear a damn excuse. Just stay healthy and get me some results. Because I think the Tua, he's so polarizing. He is, and I say this comparison all the time, and I don't mean it as a player. He's a much better player. He's Tim Tebow, like in that no matter what Tim Tebow did, it made headlines everywhere. And he was under the microscope for every little thing he did. Tua is the same way. Now, not as a player. I think he's a much better quarterback than Tebow, but he's under that microscope to whatever he says is a headline. Whatever every move he makes is a headline. Anything somebody says about him is a headline. He's under a microscope that brings a ton of pressure, and he's got to stay on the field, and he's got to make a few plays with his arm. Quarterbacks in this league, again, you don't need to be a guy who's going to throw it 35, 40 times and win your team a game. Pat Mahomes, if you got him, great. Josh Allen, if you got him, great. Perfect. But not every team does. You just need a guy 2 or 3 times a year when things aren't going great on offense, you're a little bit offbeat, to put the team on his back and say, guys, I'm going to carry us to a win this week. You got to do it every week. There's going to be 2 or 3 times a year where you have to do that. And he's only really done it once in the NFL as a rookie at Arizona. He put the team on his back in the second half of that game on the road in Arizona versus a good team, and he carried them to a win. He didn't do it at all last year, and he's going to have to do it. There's going to be those types of situations 2 or 3 times, that's all, where he puts the team on his back and carries them to a win. But he also got to stay in the field because he can be fantastic this year, play lights out. But if he only does it 8 or 9 times, then you hurt the rest. You ain't helping nobody at that point.
I was just going to say it. My co-host, we go back and forth about this all the time. George wants to kill us, but he's got to get better on the right side of the field.
Yeah, they Nino and Jared are 2 guys who, especially Jared, is dead set believing Tua can't throw to the right, outside the right hash. I tell him that's not true. He can throw it all over the field. What do you guys think about that? Tua's not able to throw to.
It's tough to get a read on him because they've been just so inept on offense. I don't know if throwing to the right side.
I mean, he's a lefty, so yeah.
Yeah. It might not be his strength, but I don't think it's probably as bad as maybe he might be making it out to be. But I don't even care at this point. He just, no excuses. I don't care where he's throwing the ball. Just complete the pass, move the ball down the field, get some first downs, complete some big third downs, and don't lose them games. Like last year, he lost them 2 games against Jacksonville and Atlanta. The Jacksonville game, he threw an awful interception. Now, I know he got them to lead, and then they blew it on the other side of the ball, but that game should have never been that close. And if he doesn't hand them points they win. Atlanta game, again, he got him a lead late, but they should have been up in that game by a lot more. He threw 2 terrible interceptions that gave Atlanta touchdowns and took points off the board. If he doesn't do that, they win those 2 games during the playoffs. You can see the correlation of missing the playoffs. And, Jacksonville and Atlanta are 2 god-awful teams picking in the top 3, or 5, whatever they were picking. They should have won those games, and they're in the playoffs, and he lost them those games. He can't be that guy. So I don't care if he's throwing right hash, left hash, up the middle. Just move the ball, put up points. He can throw it wherever he damn well pleases, as far as I care.
So let's move to the biggest concerns. Clearly, we're concerned about Tua. We're concerned about the offensive line. Are there any other concerns that we have for this Dolphins team going into the 22 season? And Troy, I'll throw that to you to start.
In terms of the running game, I would say the running game, as a concern, right? We haven't seen consistency, right? And I don't care if it's Edmonds, Sony Michelle, Mostert, whoever. The offense is going to be designed to be a run-first team. So if our running backs can't run the ball, then it's going to be a disaster of a season. So I would say that the running game is, I'm not concerned. I believe it's going to be good, but until I see it with my own 2 eyes, I'm not just going to crown it and say, oh, we're going to be good. We need the running game to be successful. And then I'm not worried about the receivers, obviously, but we need that run game to be consistent.
Mike, go ahead, Neil. Go ahead.
If that running game isn't good or consistent, then that's more pressure on Tua.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, all roads lead back to Tua, but hopefully
the
run game.
It's the straw that stirs the drink.
Can't be any holes in it though.
So
Yeah.
let's touch a little bit on the Dolphins schedule. I don't know how you guys feel about the Dolphins schedule. I don't like the fact that we're starting with Miami and New England for like the 100th year in a row. Might be exaggerating. It's probably only like 50 years in a row, but for like the 3rd or 4th year in a row, it's Miami, New England start. And then we get the Bills, who, let's face it, we've had no luck with the Bills the last few years. And then we get a Thursday night game in Cincinnati to go up against the Bengals. How do you guys feel about the start of schedule and the schedule overall for the Dolphins?
And they got the Ravens in week 2. Their month of September.
Oh, do they get the Ravens? Okay, I thought it was the Bills.
Yeah.
Week 2 on the road. Now, here's the thing I'd say. The Patriots, Miami's had some luck of late. They've won 3 in a row. And no offense to our friend here from Massachusetts, I really don't fear Mac Jones all that much.
No.
And now that he's going to our old friend, Devontae, injured reserve Parker, I really have no fear of the Patriots. So that game at home, September in that heat, 1 o'clock, I like our chances. Now, the Ravens are still the Ravens. I know Miami beat them last year, but that seems to be the exception, not the rule. The one thing I'll say about the Ravens is, off the top of your head, name their wide receivers. Good luck. They have
Bateman.
Bateman's the only guy you can name. Because after that,
Brochet.
you know these guys. Most people don't. Most people don't know these names. And the fact is, outside of maybe the Bears, they have the single worst wide receiving unit I've ever seen on a team that's supposedly quote-unquote good. So you got the Ravens are still tough, though. It is the Ravens at the end of the day. And he's a pain in the neck at quarterback to stop. So there, the Bills in Cincinnati, they're a great team. That September, if they can just go 2-2 somehow, tread water. After that, it gets a little easier, gets a little lighter. You got your Jets, you got your Vikings, Trubisky and the Steelers, Lions, Bears, Browns, oh my, Houston. It gets a little lighter, but their first month, they just can't go 0-4. They really can't. Just try to tread water in September because it does get softer after that.
Yeah, I'll jump in here because everything that you said. So it starts off hard, easy in the middle, but then it finishes hard. So we end with Buffalo, Green Bay, New England, Los Angeles is in the mix too. San Francisco could be good, could be bad. So it's like we gotta win those middle games against the easy schedule, and then we have to, again, if we could be like 2-2 after the first 4 games, then we're off to a good start. If we could somehow finish even, then I think that would be positive for us.
Real quick. You brought up Mac Jones. I gotta ask, who finishes quarterback 2 in the East? People asking, is it Mac or is it Tua?
I think they're very similar players, actually. And I don't think Mac's awful. I don't. I just think Tua's got much better weapons around him. I think Tua can get away with throwing a 3-yard pass, have it end up being a 22-yard play, and his stats are going to just go look on paper much better. I think that's really what it is at the end of the day. And plus, the Patriots are kind of taking a play from the 2021 Miami Dolphins, and we're not going to tell you who's calling plays and who the offensive coordinator is. They're the team who saw Miami last year and be like, we got to be like them. I don't get it. So
ego. Bill's ego.
But also they have Joe Judge, Matt Patricia. Who's going to call the plays? Like they don't have McDaniels.
I don't even understand. They got one guy.
Just name a guy. Nobody cares.
Going to be the QB coach.
That's a big deal.
One guy's going to be with the running backs, and he might help the wide receivers. Like Bill, come on.
But who are the weapons? I mean, who are the weapons?
Born Stevenson and Harris.
Jacoby Myers. I guess Jacoby Myers.
They're nice players.
He can't score.
They're okay, but there's not someone that you truly fear on the Patriots.
No, there's no game changer. There's no game changer at all.
Yeah, I mean, and you got Howard and Jones in Miami in their secondary. They're looking at those guys and be like, "Come on, really?"
Oh yeah.
So, there and I'll say this too about the Jets because nobody spoke about the Jets, and the Jets are getting a lot of publicity. I think in Vegas they're the team with the most money bet on them for the over/under. I think it's like 6.5, which they might actually get. Here's what I'll say about the Jets. If you're bored, look at their schedule. And outside of Watson possibly being suspended, their first easy game is November 27th. From week 1 to November 27th, let me see if I can call it up real quick. It is a brutal schedule. Now, look, if there's no Watson like we expect, that game's not awful for them, and that's in September. But I'm going to read off their schedule. You look at this Jets schedule, and all I'm going to say is to them, good luck. Week 1, Ravens. Week 2, the Browns. Okay. Then it goes Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Miami, Green Bay, Denver, New England, Buffalo, New England. Ooh. That takes you to November 27th. They might beat the Browns with no Watson. That's all I'll say.
So Nino and I did a podcast yesterday. We had a couple of Jet guys on, and they were actually very reasonable Jet guys. I told them, because I asked them the same question, break down the schedule for me. And we came up with 2 to maybe 3 wins within their first 10 games. And they had them winning 6 to 7 games for the season.
That's probably fair because Pittsburgh with Trubisky, you quite never know what you're going to get, honestly. Could they sneak up and beat Mac Jones if he's having an off day? Absolutely, it's possible. I think the Jets, 2 things can be true at the same time. A, yes, they've improved the roster. The team's improved. B, you look at that schedule. They might not see the results this year, and I think that's what it might be. But they do end the season with a fairly soft schedule. That's why I'd be afraid to bet that over-under because they do end with like Chicago, the Lions, Jacksonville, Seattle. It ends pretty soft. So they might win 4 at the end of the year, and if they win 1 or 2 at the start or 3 at the start, then they're going to go over. So I can see why people are betting them over. But if they do slip up versus Jacksonville or versus a Seattle, getting the 7 for that over-under, I know we're talking gambling now, it's going to be tricky because the first 9 weeks is brutal.
It is. It's
absolutely
absolutely
brutal. Second toughest schedule in the league.
Oh, they start off with the first 4 games against the AFC North.
Yeah, I feel crazy.
I feel bad. I almost feel bad for the Jets, and they're so much improved, but not that good.
I like the guys that came on last night, but I will never say I feel bad for the Jets or their fans. I
don't want them to win. But
I will say this. Zach Wilson has my attention. Zach Wilson has my attention. He's an interesting guy to follow. Not as a player. He's just an interesting guy to follow off the field.
Oh, no. He's a man. Zach Wilson's a man.
Don't bring him over to any family functions. That's all I'm saying.
Guy brought 2 college cheerleaders to his prom. God bless him, man.
Unbelievable.
So we got Joe chiming in. Haven't learned enough not to question Bill Belichick yet. And all I'm going to say to that is they signed off on trading a 2nd-round pick for Mohamed Sanu. They signed off on trading a 3rd-round pick for Devontae Parker.
They signed Cam Newton.
We can question Bill Belichick. Yeah, they signed Cam Newton. Yeah,
and
Joe,
we could question Bill.
Yeah, we can question Bill.
Here's the thing, too. We saw this in Miami with Shula at the end. Legendary coaches, if they stay in the same place long enough, eventually lose a little bit off your fastball. It's just it's natural. Look, you can say he's the greatest coach in the history of the game. Nobody's going to argue with it. He's got a fistful of rings. Guy's legendary. It's 2022. He's not the same coach he was in 02, 03. He's just not. So it's fair to question him and still respect what he's done. And I think the questions that even the Patriots fans have of what they're doing are legitimate. They are legitimate and fair questions. So, yeah, you can question Bill Belichick. You know,
I mean,
he's still great. Nobody's not saying he's not great.
But you say, you lose a little bit off the fastball, but I feel like he's going from 97 to 89. That's not a fastball anymore. That's a changeup.
Some guys fall off the cliff fast.
Yeah, I will give him a little bit of credit with the year with Cam. As many games as they won, they would not have won that many games if Bill wasn't the coach.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I see the wall coming very soon and the door opening.
Yeah, it's closing in real quick. Mike, I'm going to throw this one to you. What are your expectations for the 22 Dolphins? Can they beat out the Patriots, Bills, and Jets and win the AFC East? And also give me an end-of-season record prediction for the Dolphins.
They're not going to beat out the Bills. That's just unless the Bills have a ton of injuries. It's not. I don't see that happening. Can they come in second place in the AFC East? Absolutely. I think that is the expectation, especially since they've beaten the Patriots 3 times in a row. I think if they struggled versus the Patriots, you could make a case, well, they're on par with it. But they've had their number of late. So I think it's fair to say they're the second best team in the AFC East this year. Record-wise, I think 10 or 11 is probably where they're at. The schedule, it's a little tricky. Now, if they got off to a fast start in September, say they went 3-1 or something, where it's the hard part of that schedule, they could win 12 games easy. But I think 10 or 11 is probably more realistic, and only because most years you win 10 or 11, you're in the playoffs. But the AFC is so stinking tough. AFC West is loaded. AFC North is loaded. Got the Bills. I think they're going to be on the brink of the playoffs again. I think they'll get in. I hope they get in. But I think 10 or 11 wins is probably the most realistic, and second place in the East.
Troy, same to you.
Yeah, I think we're second, make the wild card. We're 10-7. That's how I feel.
I agree. I actually agree.
Yeah.
And I'm a Pats fan. I agree with that.
If the offensive line plays well,
I think
they have a chance to be more special. But I don't know if that offensive line is going to play well.
Now, I got a question in regards to your wide receivers. How do you guys feel they're going to use Hill and Waddle? Will Waddle get peppered with short routes? Like, I know you said it's going to be a yak contest for them guys. But will Waddle pass Hill as wide receiver 1? Because I think he can.
No, I don't see that. And not this year. I think it's going to be the Tyree Kell show. You don't bring him in. You don't pay him all that money for him to play second fiddle. It's Tyree Kell. And look, Waddle's going to get his. Maybe he's going to be more efficient with his because he's going to get lighter coverage, as Mike was saying earlier. But Tyree Kell is going to have the highest target share on the team. I just feel like, and then again, Tyree Kell is going to make things better for everybody else, and everyone else is going to get open. Everyone else's numbers are still going to be good, even if they don't have. Waddle's not going to have as many targets as last year, but he doesn't need them to put up big numbers.
I think Waddle will have more receptions, but I think when it comes to like yards and touchdowns, that's all going to be Hill. So I think Waddle might have 85, 90 receptions. He'll come down from past 100 just because you got someone like Hill on the roster. Right. But when it comes to like big plays, the long touchdowns, the chunk yardage plays, I think that's going to all be Hill. But I think Waddle's still going to catch probably 85, 90 balls probably at the end of the day. And he's going to be a big factor in this offense. But I think those two guys have the potential to go crazy out there because they both have game-breaking speed. And they're going to be a pain in the neck for a lot of defenses to cover. It's really just the quarterback just has to be the facilitator. You don't even have to be great. Just be the facilitator, get them the ball, and let them do their thing.
Cedric Wilson, over under 55 receptions.
Ooh, I think it's ooh. I'll say over. I'm going to say over only because he's going to have so many favorable matchups again. And he's going to have a ton of he can be facing safeties and stuff because you can't put two guys on everybody. He's going to be in favorable matchups. I think 55, it'll be close. And it's still going to be a run-first team. That's why he makes it tough to see where's the ball. Can they hit all these numbers if they are truly a run-first team? But I think 55, I think he'll go over. I think those top 3 wide receivers are going to get all the work, honestly. And Mike at tight end is going to get a lot of work. I think some of these other guys are just going to be sporadic. I mean, honestly, even though they're good, they're just going to be used sporadically.
Nino, you got any other questions?
That was it. I got to touch on the tight ends, and I really wanted to know what you guys thought about your wide receivers and how they're going to be used. So,
all right. Well, Mike, I'm going to throw this to you because I want you to talk a little bit about the veteran giveaway that you guys are doing over there at DolphinsTalk.com. I was a recipient last year, so grateful for that. We talked about that off camera before we went live, but I definitely want you to go ahead and talk a little bit about that this evening.
Yeah, it's sort of something. It's the thing I'm most proud of with our website that we do, and it kind of happened organically. So my co-host on our Wednesday night show is Ian Berger, who was the 2022 Miami Dolphins fan. No, the 2020 Miami Dolphins fan of the year. So what happened is each team nominated a quote unquote super fan, and he won the nominee. And then they took all the fans. They took the one fan from each team, and then they put it down to 3 and took them to the Super Bowl. And then from the 3, they got down to 1. He made the final 3 as a quote-unquote super fan of the year from the NFL itself. And then when he's at the Super Bowl, because that was one of the things he won, that was the year with COVID, and they had all the cardboard people in the stands, all the cardboard cutouts. So where he's sitting, he looks to his left and a few rows over is this cardboard cutout of someone in a Miami Dolphins jersey who's clearly in the military because he had the ribbon, he was wearing like an army hat. So he took the cardboard cutout, and he did a ton of work. So he gets all the credit. He went on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and he tracked this guy down and be like, I have your cardboard cutout. You probably don't know you were at the Super Bowl, but you were at the Super Bowl with this cardboard cutout. So he actually tracked the guy down. NFL Films did a story on it, whole thing. And I got thinking, well, we got this fan of the year, Ian. He had his 1 year sort of in the sun and this tie with the military. Why don't we take the two things and merge them and do our website, the Military Fan of the Year? So I came up with the idea. And I told people, if you either served in the military or if you're active now, email me at our website. Tell me what game you want to go to and tell me why you should win. And we'll give someone 2 tickets, a parking pass, $100. And that was just going to be it. Honestly, that was going to be it. And then the Miami Dolphins heard about what I was doing, and they reached out to me and be like, let's partner up. We'll help you with this, and we'll throw in more. And we'll get these guys really good seats. And we'll take them on the field at halftime and put them on the Jumbotron. We'll give them a football with their name on it. And we'll give them more. So that one trip turned into like 3 in the end. 2 with the Dolphins and 1 on our own. And it sort of just grew organically from that. So that was year 1 last year. George was one of the winners he sent in for. He had a great story how he raised, I think it was like over $20,000 for Toys for Tots or something. And just his story of being a good guy and someone who served in the military, who's a diehard fan. He was the winner and went to the Atlanta game and got his King for a Day type treatment at the Atlanta game. And we had someone else who went to the Colts game, flew in from Alaska to take his father, who was, his birthday. Then we had someone at the end of the year go to the Giants game. So this year, we're doing it again. We got 2 packages. One is for the home game against Houston. One is for the home game against the Jets. People can send in their submissions to me. If you're a diehard fan of the Dolphins, you got to be a Dolphins fan. That's number 1. And you've had to either serve in the military or you are in the military now. And just send me an email, a couple sentences, maybe a quick paragraph saying why you should win and which game you want to go to. You can email that to dolphinstalk1977@gmail.com. Got to the end of this month. And then the first week of August, I'm going to sit down with Ian and some other people on our site. We're going to pick one winner for the Houston game, one winner for the Jets game, and we'll let the winners know. And they'll get their treatment at those games where they get the tickets, the parking pass, take it on the field, get the football, and just get a day, I like to call it. Because, people in the military, either if they're in the military now or if they have served, they deserve something like this. They protect our country, and it's just something we can do to give back. And for fans of the Dolphins, because we all want to see the team win. Everyone roots for their favorite team. I don't care what favorite team you got. Everyone roots for their favorite team. But at the end of the day, there's more important things in life, and this is one thing we can do to give back to people who protect our country, or who have protected our country in the past. So it's something we do. I'm very proud of it. George You were our first winner last year. You're the first person I contacted to let know that you won. I didn't know you from Adam, but your email was great. And I know you had even though they lost that game against Atlanta, I know you had a great time there.
Dude, I almost spent the entire third quarter on the field. I ain't gonna lie. That was absolutely amazing.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it's. I'll show a quick picture of the ball. Mike mentioned that they give you a ball. So what they do is they give you a football. It's got your name, get your name on it, sponsors. It's got the game you went to, the Falcons game, the date, and this is actually a game ball.
Nice.
So what they do is they give you. This was actually from the game I went to, but they normally will give you a game ball from one of the games during the season that's already played. They do a nice job painting it up and whatnot, and they hand it to you on the field, and it's this little ceremony in the middle of the third quarter, which is, like I said, I was down on the field probably 20 yards from the whole entire Dolphins team as they were down by that end zone.
And that's a heck of a perspective, because I've been on the field for halftime events I've had to cover, and I usually head down right before halftime, so you're there for like the last minute or two of the first half, and sometimes there for the first minute or two of the second half. When you're on the field that close, for someone who's never been that close to an NFL game, you realize a couple things. A, these guys are big boys.
Oh, yeah.
B, here's what else you realize. It is hot, and they got to be so uncomfortable in all that equipment, because it is just so, especially down there, South Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Really hot. And you see the size of these guys, and just they must lose 25 pounds a game out of sweat, because with all the equipment, everything they're wearing, it is unbelievable. And then the size and the speed of the game. And, on TV, you see the field, and it looks like this big field they're running around. When you're up close, man, that field looks small, and these guys look big. And you're like, there is no space to do anything. How do they even move the ball? And it's just a different perspective. I wish a lot of fans could see, like George saw a little bit of, just because if they saw that, their perspective, I think, of all things football would change greatly when you realize these are big men hitting each other really hard in a very small space. And they, on TV, it looks like, oh, man, that's so easy. Making a play, guys getting open. You have no idea how hard it is to get open on an NFL field. It is not as big as you think when you're right down there.
The other thing you don't realize is the speed of the game. Like when you're watching it on TV or even in the stands, really, you don't realize how fast everything is moving, and there's so many moving parts on the offense and the defense, and like just being down on the field, looking at it from the field angle, it's insane. So, but we're pushing a little over an hour here. Mike, do you have anything else you would like to go ahead and plug while we got you on?
I mean, just if you're a fan of the Dolphins and you want all the Miami Dolphins content, check out our website, dolphinstalk.com. Original commentary, news, rumors when there's rumors. We got podcasts, videos up. We have everything you need if you're a fan of the Dolphins. Even if you're not a fan, you just want to sort of check in and see what's going on, go to dolphinstalk.com. You can follow me on Twitter at dolphinstalk.
And Troy, how about you? I know you're doing a bunch of work with football guys there. What you got going on?
Sure. Well, you guys can follow me at T King Mode. I'm pretty much on social media, but Twitter is my home base at T King Mode. You can find me at the Football Guys. I do podcasts with them Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do a mailbag show. I also contribute to the Fantasy Playbook. So if you want to check that out with Kyle Yates. But yeah, I guys, appreciate you having me on. This has been such a fun time.
Awesome. And Nino, thanks again for coming on, hanging out with us. We know you Patriots fans don't want to talk a whole lot of Dolphins, so I appreciate you toughing this one out.
I don't mind. I'm easygoing, man. I just love football. So, but I do want to say, if either one of you gentlemen are coming to New England for the Miami game, please hit me up. I would love to meet you guys there.
Will do.
All right, and with that, we're going to go ahead and end it. Appreciate you guys coming on. Thank you very much.
No doubt.
Absolutely. Later.